Yang Li-wei surrounded by stars on Earth. 3 Hong Kong residents killed in bus crash in Guangdong. And South Africa versus Samoa. Good evening. China's first astronaut continued to get the star treatment on the first full day of his visit to Hong Kong. Yang Li-wei attended the opening of an exhibition on his historic spaceflight, later took part in a variety show in his honour at the Hong Kong Stadium. As Jameson Wong reports, there wasn't an empty seat in the house.
After successfully orbiting the Earth 14 times, perhaps it was only fitting Yang Li-wei made a triumphant trip around a Hong Kong stadium packed with 40,000 spectators. As for the entertainment, that was left to singing stars Nicholas Jie, Twins, and Joey Yeung with a song seemingly tailor-made for this event. And there's no doubting this astronaut's star power as he took center stage where he received gifts and thanked the crowd. But the show's supernova moment came in a duet with movie star Jackie Chan. Free tickets for the concert had been quickly snapped up on Thursday. And even among some of Hong Kong's biggest and brightest, it was Yang Li-wei who many people came to see. This person said, "Yang passed by so quickly and I wanted to shake his hand." And the man who's been to space and back now finds himself preeminent among Hong Kong's constellation of stars. Jameson Wong, TVB News.
The exhibition of China's first manned space mission at the Science Museum has also been attracting crowds all day. Officiating at the opening ceremony this morning, Yang thanked Hong Kong for the warm welcome he's received here. Emily Chan has more.
The opening ceremony began at 9 this morning with Yang Li-wei and members of the aerospace delegation as officiating guests. Yang took the opportunity to thank Hong Kong.
非常感动，从昨天来到我们美丽的香港，到今天早上，都感受到了中华民族大家庭的温暖。
The Deputy Commander-in-Chief of the manned space mission and leader of the delegation, Hu Shixiang, said Yang's excitement in Hong Kong surpasses that when he was in space. The delegation hopes the exhibition will be an eye-opening experience and allow people in Hong Kong to gain a better understanding of the nation's space program. The trip to Hong Kong is the astronaut's first official trip since his historic flight, because according to Hu, the chief executive was the first to invite him. Tong Chi-hua presented Hu with a souvenir, and he returned the gesture with a small statue. The chief executive also got a glimpse of the re-entry capsule and other space mission items before the exhibition officially opened to the public at 10:30. The venue was packed with enthusiasts, with the Shenzhou 5 re-entry capsule the most popular display. This boy says it looks like a fishball. A spacesuit, samples of space food, and models of the spacecraft and rocket were also on display. Just outside, people were filing in line in an orderly fashion. Each ticket bears a designated time slot, entitling each ticket holder to a 30-minute stay in the exhibition hall. The show runs until Tuesday and is open around the clock, the first time that's been done by the Leisure and Cultural Services Department. Many exhibition goers and Yang Li-wei fans were hoping to get a chance to meet the astronaut. This man wrote a poem for Yang. Meanwhile, this woman sang a song for her hero. Many enthusiasts waited outside his hotel this morning to get a glimpse of the astronaut. This woman managed to get an autograph and says she's ecstatic. Emily Chan, TVB News.
People continued to gather at the Science Museum tonight. Not everyone who showed up had tickets, but were allowed inside anyway. Those who had queued in line for tickets this week said that wasn't fair, but officials say they didn't want to turn anyone away. So far, about 12,000 have viewed the exhibition at the Science Museum. A special treat for those who were there tonight is that they were able to view the spacesuit worn by the astronaut in space. This is the first time it has been on display anywhere. And at a dinner tonight for Yang Li-wei, China's space program received a big boost financially. Businessman and standing committee member of the National People's Congress, Jiang Hin-chi, donated $4 million to China's space efforts. He also gave $1 million to Yang Li-wei. Yang in turn donated the money to the space program. Jiang said he is also looking to establish a fund to provide continued support for China's space exploration. 7 people have been killed in a traffic accident in Guangdong. At least 3 of the dead were Hong Kong residents. Another 6 who survived the crash are now in hospital. The accident happened in the town of Tianxi near the city of Lufeng yesterday afternoon. A 5-ton truck went out of control after it burst a tyre, crashing into a van with 25 people aboard. 6 passengers died on the spot, including 3 Hong Kong residents. Another person later died in hospital. 6 others remain at the Lufeng People's Hospital, including 1 in critical condition. Taiwan President Chen Shui-bian has repeated his call for a new constitution in Taiwan to strengthen the island's democracy. Chen's latest remarks came in New York, where he received an International Human Rights Award. His trip is billed as a transit stop on the way to Panama, but China has warned the visit could be damaging to its relations with the United States. Rahina De Luna reports.
Chen Shui-bian's first stop on his arrival in New York was to pay his respects at the home of Madame Chiang Kai-shek, who died last week. Then it was off to the Waldorf Astoria Hotel, where both supporters and protesters waited to greet the Taiwan leader. Around 1,000 people attended a ceremony inside, where Chen Shui-bian received an award from the International League of Human Rights, previously bestowed on former South African President Nelson Mandela and former South Korean leader Kim Dae-jung. It was here that Chen made his case for his push for a new Taiwan constitution, saying it would further advance democracy on the island.
台湾民主与人权的进步，不只是台湾人民的荣耀，也是所有华人社会的指标。
But Chen insisted that a new constitution is not a declaration of independence and called for international support of Taiwan's democracy. During his stopover, the Taiwan leader is also scheduled to meet with New York Mayor Michael Bloomberg before he continues his trip on Sunday to Panama for a one-day stay. Chen will also stop in Alaska for a one-day transit visit on his way home next week. Rahina De Luna, TVB News.
In Southern California, firefighters have begun clearing buffer zones as favorable weather conditions continue to aid their battle against raging wildfires. Only one major community, Big Bear Lake in the San Bernardino Mountains, is still threatened by the blazes, which have killed 20 people and driven over 100,000 from their homes. The biggest fire outside San Diego is now 65% contained, and as ABC News reports, the recriminations there have already begun.
A mountaintop camera captured time-lapse pictures of the early hours of a fire that eventually burned more than 275,000 acres. A Sheriff's Department helicopter pilot reported the fire and asked the California Department of Forestry to launch air tankers. The CDF repeatedly refused to attack the fire by air that night.
In retrospect and looking at what all happened there, it's definitely frustrating.
That conversation was at about 5:45 p.m. Saturday, and the CDF has a rule that all its aircraft must land a half hour before sunset. Sunset was at 6:05, and the fire was getting a good start.
Why was this fire not put out within the 9 hours between 5:30 and 3 a.m. in the morning?
The state did not launch aircraft until morning, and military aircraft available nearby were never called at all.
Federal law says before we can release any military aircraft, the state and federal government have to hire all the civilian aircraft companies that want to provide aircraft to put out the fire.
All it took was Governor Davis to say to CDF, do it. It was never done.
But San Diego County was also unprepared to respond. This fire-susceptible area has no countywide fire department and no helicopters that are just for fighting fire. The San Diego County Sheriff's Department can launch 3 helicopters with a relatively minor firefighting capacity. By comparison, Los Angeles County, which has roughly the same square miles, has 6 dedicated firefighting helicopters.
Local politicians, right, have been taking a risk by underfunding these services.
Today, the wildfires appear to be tapering off, but here, the recriminations could go on for years. Brian Rooney, ABC News, San Diego.
Hundreds of militant Muslim men from Europe and the Middle East are heading to Iraq to fight the US-led occupation, according to a New York Times report. Meanwhile, US President George W. Bush vowed today to stand firm on Iraq and said leaving the country prematurely would only strengthen the terrorists he blamed for recent deadly attacks. This as at least 2 more US soldiers were killed today in a roadside bomb blast in the northern Iraqi city of Mosul. Insurgents also attacked a US convoy near Heat, 120 kilometers northwest of Baghdad. One man held up part of the wreckage from one vehicle and shouted, "With our blood and souls we sacrifice for you, Saddam." Russian President Vladimir Putin is facing increased criticism at home and abroad over moves against the head of Russia's largest oil company. Russia's Prime Minister said he was very troubled by the freezing of the company's stock, ignoring Putin's blunt warning to the cabinet not to meddle in the prosecutor's campaign against Yukos and its head Mikhail Khodorkovsky. Khodorkovsky was arrested last Saturday by special agents at a Siberian airport. The comments from Prime Minister Mikhail Kazyanov appear to be the boldest sign yet of protest from within Putin's cabinet over an escalating investigation that has stoked financial and political turmoil. And the United States has also expressed concern again about the rule of law in Russia and the impact on Yukos investors. A member of the Equal Opportunities Commission has alleged that the embattled EOC chairman is being targeted by someone deliberately stirring trouble. Raymond Wu today also denied that it was he who had suggested to Chief Executive Tung Chee-hwa that he appoint Michael Wong to head the commission. Rahina De Luna has more.
Division among members of the Equal Opportunities Commission at a radio show this morning. Raymond Wu said the controversy surrounding the sacking of newly appointed EOC official Patrick Yu was deliberately disclosed to stir trouble, but he stopped short of suggesting a conspiracy. However, he maintained that Michael Wong has been targeted by critics because he's a Tung appointee. Contrary to reports, Wu denied that he suggested that the chief executive appoint Wong as the new EOC chief. Another committee member, meantime, Fong Hon-yun, who opposed the sacking of Patrick Yu, said the EOC should rehire Yu to salvage the commission's credibility. But legislator Margaret Ng said Wong's resignation would not restore the EOC's reputation. She said the chief executive needs to review the criteria for appointing officials of public bodies. The EOC chairman is also embroiled in another allegation of improperly accepting free air tickets while he was an appeals court judge. Rahina De Luna, TVB News.
The Vice-Chancellor of the University of Hong Kong has warned that cuts in university funding would delay the government's plan to switch from 3-year to 4-year degrees. But the chairwoman of the University Grants Committee, Alice Lam, disagreed with Choi Lap-chi, saying the problem is not about resources. Rather, she said the main difficulty would involve changing the curriculum structure in secondary and tertiary schools. Lam also urged university students not to stage a planned protest. The students plan to boycott classes to protest against expected funding cuts. In sport, at the Rugby World Cup, Australia scraped past Ireland 17-16 to set up a quarter-final against Scotland, who put out Fiji 22-20. South Africa, meanwhile, demolished Samoa 60-10 in Brisbane to set up a probable quarter-final clash with New Zealand. The Boks ran in 8 tries and looked in impressive form against a Samoa, unable to find the touch that they had against England. South Africa now top the group, but England still have to play Uruguay. And tonight's winning mark 6 numbers are 4, 8, 12, 15, 23, 33. The extra number is 36. And the weather, it will be fine with haze and temperatures between 23 and 27 degrees. Expect it to turn windier earlier next week. Tonight, organisers and music fans had the opportunity to forget about the troubles of Harbourfest for a couple of hours at least. Santana headlined the show that appeared to be played to a near-capacity crowd, although organisers were not releasing any figures. We leave you with pictures from that concert. Have a good evening.